But first up, the former Prime Minister Liz Truss has launched a new movement called Popular Conservatism, or PopCons, which will be a platform to lobby for stricter rules on immigration, to dial down wokery in our public institutions, to take a more robust approach to law and order, and to push for lower taxes. Truss launches the event on Tuesday, and whilst it will attract serving MPs from the right of the Tory party, Reform UK's President, GBNews star Nigel Farage, will also be in attendance. So are Farage and Truss the dream team to reunite the right? Let's ask tonight's newsmaker, former government minister and Reform UK supporter Anne Widdecombe. Anne, good to see you again. What's your initial reaction to Liz Truss's project? Will you be there?
I most certainly will not be there. And my reaction to the announcement was another group, you know, and another version of the ERG, perhaps another version of any of the groups that the Conservative Party have managed to pit against each other during the last 4 years. This is just proof of more division in the Conservative Party, that somebody feels they have to set up a group in order to oppose what is going on at the moment. So that is the first thing. The second thing is Nigel isn't speaking. Nigel isn't setting this group up. Nigel will be there to observe, but I think he's doing a rather splendid job of showing what the divisions in the Tory party are. And if you haven't got a united party, you haven't got a hope in the general election, because the public absolutely hate disunity.
Anne, you were a lifelong Conservative and a serving MP, a government minister, very loyal to the cause. You left the party with a heavy heart. Why have the Conservatives ceased to be Conservative?
If I knew that, I'd have the answer to a question which many people, decades-long Conservatives, have been asking. I think the real problem is, straightforwardly, the second-rate nature of Parliament. That goes right across it. It's not just the Tories. People who panic. I mean, as soon as you get a movement in the polls, they go into a panic. They panic when something goes wrong. And very, very second rate. And, you know, to believe that you solve every problem by getting rid of your leader as often as you change your socks is just indicative of the very low grade of parliamentarian that we've got at the moment. And that in turn goes back to the focus on identity politics. Instead of looking at merit, what they're looking for is more women, more gays, more ethnics, more this, more that. Fine, let's have more of those. But only after they've passed the merit bar. And I've seen it happen in a selection where the merit bar was just discarded and all that mattered was the numbers on the shortlist. Now, that is a nonsense. And over time, with both main parties doing that, it's had a huge impact on the quality of parliamentarian, a huge impact.
And is it conceivable that the likes of Liz Truss, or perhaps Lee Anderson, who'll be at the event on Tuesday as well, could ultimately defect to Reform UK, particularly if the Conservatives collapse at the next election?
Well, those who share our ideals are most welcome. And I'm sure we would be delighted to receive them. But at the moment, Reform is going ahead on its own strength, doing very nicely. Thank you. We're at 13% in the polls. We're not about to
be yet another... Sorry to interrupt you. Anne, sorry to interrupt you. You know these top Tories well. Could they stomach a move to Reform UK? Is that something, you know, could there be a brain drain from sort of some of these top Tories to Reform if it looks like the Tories are toast? Is that conceivable that someone like Liz Truss would cross the floor and essentially, you know, effectively an independent, I suppose, but standing as a Reform UK MP?
Right, I don't think there'll be a brain drain. There could well be a common sense drain if people really think, you know, that's the end and they're looking for somewhere to go which is founded on common sense, then it's possible. But at the moment, I'm not speculating like that. I'm not vesting any hope in the Conservatives. I'm vesting all my hope in Reform, of which, of course, Nigel Farage is president.
Anne, I know you have reservations about its execution and outcome, but 4 years on from Brexit, we're out. Was it worth it?
Oh, it was certainly worth it, but you're quite right. We haven't, you know, taken the advantage of it that we should have taken. And, you know, everybody would be cheering it to the rafters if only we had done that. When I say we, I mean we, Britain. And we haven't done that. And we've still got thousands of EU regulations on anything from green bananas to fishing vessels. We took 4 years to abolish live animal exports, which we could have done in 6 months, quite honestly. We just haven't taken advantage. Where we have taken advantage and where we're doing actually rather well is on the trade deals. That Pacific trade deal is well worth having in terms of the global market. So we've done very well on the trade deals. We did immensely well on the vaccinations, and we just, didn't participate in the procurement program. Set up our own. Boris did that very, very effectively. So yes, I'm delighted that we did it, but frustrated that we haven't taken full advantage of it.
Well, there you go, Anne. I think we'll file Brexit under work in progress. You, however, are the finished article, and Anne will see you in a week's time.
See you then.